I'm gonna go full African on this. Men should have no say so whether they take accountability for their children or not. It's built in. Men are ultimately accountable for their children, always. All right, but look at how we have changed that around in this society. Okay, so I want y'all to look at it from this perspective. Children are the biological property of their parents. All right. So, which means that children are the biological property of their fathers. Do we treat it like that in this country at all? We don't. So, it's hard for some men to take accountability in a secondary sense. Most functional societies, I'm going to talk about that again. The way they get the compliance of men is to actually do it in reverse. You tell the men that these children are your primary responsibility. They are your biological property, and that accountability trickles down throughout the society. Everybody's taken care of. The men metaphorically link arms to create an entire community, so on and so forth. So I absolutely believe that men need to take accountability, but I also believe accountability needs to be forced on them in the way I just explained. Now, let me tell y'all how this is gonna I'm gonna put a political spin on it. And I'm a part of something called the African Conservatives Assembly. And one of the pieces of legislation that's gonna creep up through the waves, kind of like the Roe v. Wade thing crept up and just dismantled it, is that biological property statement I just made is how they are going to dismantle the child support system. You can't make a man pay for his biological property and then tell him when he can and cannot see it. Right. So that's one of the pieces of legislation that's going to be creeping up in the coming years. And they're going to use that biological property narrative to dismantle that in Supreme Court. All right. So I wish as a society we treated children that way, to force accountability on men for the sake of the whole society. Because realize that anywhere there is discord, anywhere there is massive crime, anywhere there are large amounts of gang activity, fathers are not present. So the way that we need to promote that presence and function and education and advancement in any society is to promote fatherly accountability at all levels, at the highest. It's the utmost. It's the most important thing we could possibly have in our society. And I'll leave it there.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Shannon Rawls.
Most men don't have kids. Do men need to take more accountability for fathering the kids? Most fathers are married. So that's dwindling a whole lot of men out of that. Just removes a whole lot of brothers already out of the equation. And I would think it's safe to say that more than half of the non-married fathers are taking care of their kids. Damn, that brings that percentage down real low. I'm a numbers guy, and I would say it's safe to say that most men who are not taking care of their kids want to, but can't. So that leaves how many? Small subset, like Trev said. But here's the thing: no soldier left behind on the battlefield. We recover all soldiers, dead or alive, or we all die on the battlefield. Nobody's left behind. So to answer the question is, should more men take accountability, even if it's 1% of a percent of a percent? The answer is yes, technically, because no child should be left behind, no matter how small of a percentage it is. I looked this up. More than half of the Black children live in a single parent household. More than half of the Black children that live in a single parent household, children who grew up without a father, are 5 more times likely to live in poverty and commit crime, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, and 20 times more likely to end up in prison. They are more likely to have behavioral problems or run away from home or become teenage parents themselves. And the foundations of our community are weaker because of it. presidential candidate Barack Obama during his Father's Day speech in 2008, right before he became president. That same year, though, they did a survey, not a study. It was just a survey. Remember, surveys is just people asking people. Where they found out that non-residential white daddies were less involved than black dads. And then 10 years later, non-marital births, this was a study, reported that black fathers shared responsibilities more frequent than anybody else. And we all talk about that 2013 or 2014 CDC report where black dads are more involved than anybody else. But if we go back to, should anybody be left behind? The answer is no. So I can't really say no. Fathers shouldn't take more accountability, because if there's one, that's one too many. But to be fair and to speak in reality, it seems like a question that shouldn't be asked, because predominantly men do take accountability of their children. And the ones that don't, more than at least half of them want to and can't. So we're talking about a small subset of people that's not. But it's a big question. It's like the loud minority thing. If 70% of black children are born to parents who aren't married, well, how many of those kids don't have a dad today at all involved, where somebody got her pregnant and bounced? I hear the argument that, man, brothers should hold their homies accountable. Brothers should be mad for the deadbeat. I can't think of a deadbeat father. I don't know how many brothers y'all know I don't know how many of y'all homies are deadbeat dads. I can't think of one. I do know some brothers that's having problems with their baby mama that can't go see their kids, and they want to see their kids, but they can't see them. And the argument is, I wish more men would fight for the kids. Y'all know the meme. I wish more men would fight to be with their kids. And then the argument to that is, well, why should men have to fight at all? But you want us to take accountability. Even the pookies want to take, or the ones that are trying to take accountability, and they're not even allowed to take accountability. So if no soldiers left behind on the battlefield, then the answer is yes, more men should take accountability. However, in the reality sense, I think men are, and men are trying to, and men want to. They really do. Black men, specifically ages 18 to 30, 80+% of them want to have children and create a legacy. That's 8 out of 10 in a room. You think those 8 men don't want to have any involvement or any accountability with having children? They certainly do, but it's so hard when all the autonomy is given to the mother. So my answer is yes and no.